From Los Angeles, California, this is Burncast and I'm the bomb.
All right, so just state who you are.
Hi, I'm Lisa, also known as Special Ops, also known as Ranger Hooper.
So you're a ranger.
I'm a ranger.
All right, let's get into that in a
Okay.
minute. But how many years have you been going to Burning Man?
This will be my 7th year.
7th year.
Yes, I am going back.
Oh, you are going
I
back?
am going back. A lot of my friends are not going. A lot of people are taking the year off.
I know a lot of people are taking a year off, but and the biggest thing I'm hearing is gas prices. Where are you at with that?
I drive an RV, so God help me. This is my vacation every year, so I'm just already planning. I'm putting the money aside. I've got a couple of riders that are, very willing to share, so it'll be okay.
Tell me about your first year at Burning Man. What do you remember the most?
I remember most thinking that I was going to hate it.
Really?
And absolutely loving it. And yeah, that was what I remember most. I heard about it probably 6 years before I actually got there.
Okay.
And I finally went with that group, Green Tortoise from San Francisco. Basically just drove up to San Francisco and met up with them.
Oh, I didn't know this.
Yeah, I did.
Cool. It's
I
a
met
great
up with them,
story.
so I was kind of on my own, but met them and went for the short term, like got there Thursday and then left right after the temple burn. And I loved it immediately. I was really afraid. I thought it was going to be very uncomfortable and maybe, sexually it was going to be a lot of pressure. And, I think I grew up in Texas. I'm a little conservative, and I thought I wouldn't like it. And within 5 minutes, I was just like, oh, this is where I need to be.
Okay, we touched on sexual pressure in another episode, and you're a ranger as well. Can you speak a little bit more about this sexual pressure and what can be done about it and what it is? Can you describe it as well?
Are you talking about like instances of assaults, or just the in general, like what the vibe there?
I guess the culture and the vibe. I mean, why did you get that impression?
Well, I think it was just that was in my own head if that was what it was going to be like, because I'd seen photos and I'd seen there is some nudity. It's very minimal compared to the overall population, but I just thought that me personally, I might be too conservative for ever there was going to be a lot more free than I was.
Ah, okay.
And what I found was that it's it's whatever you're comfortable with. If you're comfortable being half naked or wearing a costume, whatever, that's what you need to do. There was no pressure in any way, shape, or form. I didn't feel that, me personally. But I've heard of people that, especially as the population gets bigger and bigger and bigger, I think that's going to be more of a factor, because there's not as much, each watching out for each other. There's just anonymity's kind of slipping into it a little bit.
Oh,
because
really?
there's so many more people. Well, the first year I went, there were about 25,000. This year, I think there was almost, they said 47,000. So it was roughly double when I first went, and I felt it.
Do you know what they're anticipating this year?
I haven't heard.
Okay.
They always are they keep the numbers kind of close to the vest. I don't know why, because if they don't want to say how many people are really there. I'm not really sure, but they just they publish it after the event, and that's when I find out.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about your volunteering, what you've done for Burning Man.
I've done a lot of work with the greeters, which I love. I'm going up about a week early this year to work with the greeters. And it sounds kind of boring, but the first 2 days is collating. It's putting the packages together that everyone gets when they come to the gate. But it's, you sit in this little room and you just...
And it's air conditioned, right?
It's air conditioned, but it's almost like I almost want to just don't have it, because I wanted to start acclimatizing right away. But you sit in the room and it's just this great vibe, and everyone's having a great time. And usually they bring us food and bring us drinks, and it's like 8 hours of just really working hard.
Yeah.
But it's so much a group effort, and we take lunch together, and then because there's not many people there, usually there's just one party at night, so everyone goes to the one party. Everyone knows where it is, and everyone kind of hangs out, and then you go to the hot springs. So it's really a nice time to get geared up to.
And then, let's see, we talked a little bit about rangering, we didn't really talk a little bit about rangering.
Rangering is, I love it. It's basically, I would do that anyway, just walk around and talk to people. But the biggest thing with rangering is that it's kind of clearing up some misconceptions about it, because I think some people think that rangers are cops, and they're not. Rangers are just participants. We're just like everybody else. We just happen to wear, a hat. And it's basically just talking to people and checking on them, seeing how you doing, what can I help you with, or if it's a lot of mediating. It's if there's there's a lot of inter-camp discussions that go on later in the week about music and noise and whatnot, and it's just kind of trying to smooth things over a little bit. But I've never felt so welcomed. You always feel welcome anyway as a participant, just going, visiting people. But people really like having the rangers around. And there's been a few times we've been able to help people out, people that are kind of lost, and everyone's there is kind of doing their own thing, and sometimes people maybe get overlooked a little bit. Maybe they're just a little sad, or they're sitting off and not really having a good time, or just look at they're a little dehydrated. That's what we look for. We look for somebody that's maybe not just going with the flow, and help them out if we can.
That's cool. In the 7 years you've been going, what have you noticed the biggest change?
Biggest change, the thing that struck me last year was that there wasn't as much space. I used to take the bike and the hoops and go and, just go out to the trash fence. And usually you go, a little bit further past the temple or whatever was out there and have just an expanse of nothingness. And this last year I was on my bike, I had my hoop and I rode, oh, people. And I rode a little bit further, oh, people. And pretty soon I was at the trash fence, and I'd not gotten this expanse of nothingness. Usually you could find a spot and hang out, and somebody might come by every 10 minutes or so. But this time it was, little pockets of people everywhere. There wasn't as much space out in this expanse that used to be nothingness.
Okay, so what's the future of Burning Man then?
Future of Burning Man. I think it's actually probably going to maybe implode under its own weight, under its own success within, I don't know, maybe 5 years or so. The big event.
What do you mean?
I think it's just going to get too big for what it is. I kind of compare it to Mardi Gras. We used to go to Mardi Gras when I was really, really young, growing up in Texas, and it was more of a family thing. And it was, you go and you'd hang out and watch the parades. And now it's just this giant drunken, frat boy fest. I would never go back. I would not go back to Mardi Gras. And Burning Man, not that it's that, but I just think that because it's going to be more and more people, more and more, like I said, the anonymity. I sensed that a little bit last year. Usually in your camp, you kind of know all your neighbors. You get to know. Last year, we didn't really know about half the people. And, I drive an RV, which is, I don't know, is part of the problem or not, but there were a lot of walls around the camp. Seems like they were more confined. And I just think it's going to become almost too successful, or else it's going to be successful. It's going to create, draw a different type of crowd. And I think the people that go now will maybe find other things like the regionals, maybe to seek those out more.
Now, you recently told me you went to a regional. Can you talk a little bit about what you went to and what your take is on that?
Yeah, went to Flipside in Austin last Memorial Day, and this year went to the one in Arizona, Toast, which was phenomenal. Flipside last year was fun, but it was raining the whole time. So you were there too. We called that Floodside.
Floodside, yeah.
I think so. I didn't go back this year, and I think I was just more afraid of the weather. But went to Arizona, Toast, and it was, like I said, I went. The first time to Burning Man was 2001, which is already a really big event. But I would imagine Toast was more like Burning Man back in the day. I think there were 300 participants there, and there was no, you just pull in and camp wherever, and there was a designated area where you were all going to gather, and kind of a center camp, and then the effigy and everything. So there was some structure to it, but it was a lot more. The thing I liked the best was Saturday morning we got up and we were sitting outside the tent and just, having some breakfast. And all of a sudden, this impromptu parade comes by. And everyone just stops what they're doing and jumps in the parade. And we walk all around this high desert hill country for, about 45 minutes. And we stopped at another camp and somebody started making Bloody Marys. And we hung out there and played drums all morning. So there wasn't as much structure, but it seemed like more organic and more free form. And that was really refreshing. I really liked that about it.
Okay, we've got 2 minutes left on our counter here, so 2 questions, 2 minutes. Any advice to the virgin burner?
The virgin burner. I would say don't be. I heard this term as like a first-year burner, 2 years experience, which is
what is that?
Which is people become so studied. They know so much when they go in. They've got the perfect bike. They've got the perfect. I think just go there and just kind of experience. I mean, yeah, you can participate and create some costumes, but just go and really soak it in. See what it is that you like to do there. Don't overschedule yourself. I mean, maybe volunteer once you get there if you find a need, but kind of soak it in.
All right, and any advice to the jaded veteran burner? And I think you're dating one, aren't you?
Yes,
or you were dating one.
Yes. I think. I don't know. It's such a personal thing, and Burning Man is such a personal, maybe a little bit of a selfish event. I'm going this year, no matter what, no matter who is in my life. That's still what I want to do, what I personally want to do. And I think you just, if it's right for you, then you should go, and if it's not, take a year off.
All right, we've just about run out of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.